Welcome to Speed Kolor, a podcast and YouTube channel about custom motorcycle culture. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to get all the latest content. You can also follow Speed Kolor on Instagram. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hi there. Welcome to another episode of Speed Kolor. If you're a first-timer, first time listening to the podcast or watching the YouTube channel, welcome for the first time. If you're back for more Speed Kolor, welcome back. Nice to have you. Thanks for being here. So I was giving things some thought here in the past couple of weeks, and I was looking at some things, and first thing I got to tell you about Bad Livin' Roadshow. So the Bad Livin' Roadshow is just 2 weeks out. Boy, oh boy, if you're in southwestern Ontario, some of the northern states that border Ontario there, if you're in Quebec, even Manitoba, you've got time to get over there. Bad Livin' Roadshow is just awesome. That is going to be one of those premier Canadian events, is the Bad Livin' Roadshow. Camping, all kinds of fun, all kinds of good stuff. Little chopper centric maybe, but there's lots of other stuff too. There was some restoration stuff there last year, cafe racers, stuff like that. So it's just a good time. It's in a great part of the country, good riding, well organized, entertainment, live music, all kinds of good stuff. So I can't say enough good things about what Lee is doing there and about the Bad Livin' Roadshow. So I would highly recommend that you be there. That said, I had told everybody that I was going to be there again this year, and we launched into building an XS650 that we thought we would have there. And I think I've probably mentioned this before, but in all honesty, August 5th of last summer, we had a hailstorm here. Calgary is, hailstorms are frequent in this part of the country, central and south Alberta. Hailstorms are pretty common. You get different weather patterns off the mountains and different things happen. And anyway, we're just susceptible to these darn hailstorms. I've been through lots of little ones without damage, but boy, oh boy, this one last year cut a swath right over the subdivision we're in, right over the airport, caused billions of dollars of damage at the airport. The roof of Terminal B anyway, the B area, whatever that is. All kinds of damage there. I believe it was 11 WestJet planes on the ground at the time were damaged. Don't know how much other stuff was damaged at the airport, but it was a very significant storm, and we wound up in a position here. We had to replace 6 windows in the house. We wound up replacing 7. But 6 windows in the house, siding, and of course the way the insurance companies work, and I don't blame them at all, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining here, but the insurance companies cover the walls that are damaged or the siding that is damaged. So as it turned out, the 2 sides that were not damaged were also the sides that face south and west and get the most sun and were the most faded and chalked and ugly. And of course, to boot, our siding, the same color and profile, was not available. Shingles don't matter. Charcoal shingles are charcoal shingles pretty much. But on the siding, it wasn't going to match perfectly. Probably might have been close enough, but with the chalking and the fading and all the rest of it, we decided that we would go ahead and just re-side the house and the garage. Major undertaking. And, going to cost us a little bit out of pocket, but our home's going to be beautiful when it's done. But what can I say? It just unexpected. We weren't really planning on it. And as it turned out, everything, building materials and everything got delivered. Windows came in a couple weeks ago. They're in the middle of doing siding now, and then we still have the roofs to do. And it just turned out that Karen and I really weren't comfortable leaving in the middle of all of this. So unfortunately, we're not going to make the Bad Living Roadshow this year. That said, we're going to be back there. We're going to be there next year for sure. We're going to do that. For this year, I have the Queen Street motorcycle guys and gals, I guess, are going to cover the event for me. So they've got a camera, and they're going to do some recording, and they're going to cover it and cover some of the bikes and stuff, and hopefully the invited builder section, and there's a couple pretty cool bikes this year with the Queen Street Moto gang. Not a gang, I shouldn't say that, but with the Queen Street Moto group. So there you go. So they got some cool stuff. They've got a display this year. It's going to be pretty exciting. So if you can get there, July 18th to 20th, Durham, Ontario, not Durham County, but Durham, the town, which is up by Hanover, up in that area. So if you can get there, go take it in. It's fantastic. You won't be disappointed. Also, should mention to you, LCP, Luciano Capasso Productions, did a documentary on last year's Bad Living Roadshow. It's on YouTube. It's on Luciano's channel. I'm sure if you do a search for Bad Living Roadshow documentary, you'll get taken right to it. Really, really good. Professional quality, really well done. Really, really good. Can't say enough about Luch and everything he did. Man, that guy worked his tail off, and it's a great documentary. So you can also take that in if you want more information about the Bad Living Roadshow. And I think that's about it for Bad Living. So go have fun. Let me know what you thought, and I hope you enjoy it. The Bad Living Roadshow, what did I have next on my list here? Give me a second. I got to get into the phone. So I wanted to talk a little bit here quickly too about Speed Kolor and about my brand. I've been doing a little more research and homework on branding and that kind of stuff. And, I want to let you know I've always worked hard to make sure that the podcast is listenable while the YouTube channel is viewable, and that both have good information. And I've just, the audio on the podcast is exactly the same as the audio you get on the YouTube channel. It's just that on the YouTube channel, of course, you get video with it. It's tough to do video and audio for those two different platforms and have it totally work, have it totally make sense. But we've been trying, and I'm aware of that, and I've done a couple episodes lately that I think have been pretty good for the podcast. I think they've made sense. That said, the YouTube channel is far more popular than the podcast is. That just makes sense. I don't have an issue with that. Originally I set out to do a podcast, but then the YouTube thing happened, and we're dealing with a visual thing like paint and fabrication and custom stuff, and all the different things that go along with this, the visual is an important part. But as I say, we're also trying to keep it so that the podcast, the audio, stands alone and makes sense. So that's part of my branding. The other things I'm trying to do, I'm trying to be informative. I want to be informative, and I want to be accurate. I want to be accurately informative about motorcycles, new motorcycles, custom motorcycles. Whenever we talk about motorcycles, I want to give you information you can count on. That is a little bit of a challenge for me right now. I work in the motorcycle industry. I work for a manufacturer, and that kind of keeps me cautiously silent on some subjects. So we'll leave it that way for now. My time in the motorcycle business as a career will be coming to an end before the end of the year here. I'll be officially retiring, and that may give me a little more freedom to speak about what's going on without fear of offending people, offending my employer, whatever, saying something that perhaps I shouldn't. So that may change a little bit there. But also accurate information about how-tos, how to do different things. And I enjoy a whole bunch of different things around motorcycle building. And, we can get some people on the show who are skilled and experienced. We've had Brent from PFX on talking about some of their builds. That guy, man, he's brilliant. He's sharp. He knows a lot of stuff. He's done a lot of this. And we've got a couple guys coming up who I'm excited to get out and interview. And they have some very cool projects and things they're doing. So we're gonna expand on that a little bit on the bikes and the how-tos and the how we do it kind of stuff. And that I'm excited to do that. The other thing in terms of branding, there are some podcasts and YouTube channels out there that are probably, again, more chopper-centric. And I understand the culture and I understand what they're doing. I do find some of them, some people might find them offensive. Obviously, people who listen to them don't, and that's fine. And I listen to those podcasts and stuff, and I don't have a problem listening to them. I don't necessarily agree with the language and some of the thoughts, but mainly the language used and stuff. I don't think you need to go there to get your point across, but as I say, I don't get particularly offended by it. But I do understand how perhaps a younger audience, a father who is out in the car and turns on the podcast and has his teenage son or daughter in the car with him. And, the language may be a little bit colorful and something a little bit uncomfortable in that kind of situation. So my branding is I'm trying to get to a broader audience. I want to make this palatable, acceptable for a larger number of people, and I certainly don't want to be offending people. And the feedback I've gotten is a lot of my regular viewers and listeners appreciate that they don't have to worry about colorful language, things like that, ideas being expressed that are, let's say, adult or mature. They don't need to worry about that stuff. So we're definitely going to stay on track with that as well. yeah, that's a little bit about the brand. Let me just see if I had any other points here that I wanted to mention. Yeah, and I guess the final thing is, yes, I like choppers, admitted. I'm a chopper guy. I enjoy the creativity in them. I enjoy the style. I enjoy the paint style, all that kind of stuff. But I'm capable of doing other stuff as well. And I do enjoy cafe racers, brats, diggers, all genres, all types of motorcycles. So we are going to start covering a broader offering of custom motorcycle culture. Custom motorcycles are not just choppers or bobbers. There's way more than that out there. So I'm going to make an effort to cover more cafe racers and all the other styles. As a matter of fact, after this one is done, I have 2 more XS650s waiting in the wings here. One is going to be a brat and one's going to be a cafe racer. We're gonna move ahead with those projects and talk about those and cover those on the build stuff episodes as well. But certainly that'll be a part of Speed Kolor. And as I said, I have an interview coming up with a fellow here that I'm excited to do, and it's going to be something different, some different kind of content. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be really good, and it won't be about choppers. So that's, in general, what I'm trying to do with my brand. That's the audience I'm targeting and the way I'm trying to bring information to that audience. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's exciting. So if that's the kind of content you're looking for, I hope you'll stick around and be here with me. I guess the other thing that I wanted to mention is, and part of why I'm doing this episode and sitting in front of the XS650 right now, is I've noticed there seems to be a little bit more interest out there for some reason in metric choppers, which I think it's cool. I get it. Harleys are cool. They got the culture, they've got the history. There's so much going on there, and there's so many variations. The whole evolution of Harley. I get it. It's the brand. It's the culture. But that said, if you look back, CB750s, and we've got one of those coming up that I'm really excited to bring to you and bring the young man who built it to you and let him tell his story and how it came together. But CB750s, XS650s, Triumphs, which are not metric, I know, but they're British. But again, they're not Harley, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I want to bring you more of all of that kind of stuff. And why the whys of why somebody would go with a metric chopper versus a Harley, and just the different offerings and maybe where to source parts and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think metric choppers deserve a little more attention. I think they're cool, and there's been lots of cool ones built, and we need to keep moving in that direction. So that said, the other thing I noticed is that the episode I did, and it was several months ago, the episode I did on the XS650 build, all of a sudden is getting a lot more views. Not necessarily getting a lot of listens on the podcast, but that kind of makes sense because it is, I'll admit that episode is a very visual kind of episode. However, it is getting a lot more views. don't know if the algorithm has picked up on it, if it's who it's being presented to, if it's my subscribers who are finding it, if people are scrolling through the past episodes. I'm not totally sure why it's gaining in popularity, but it is. And looking at that, I thought, well, you know what? If people are liking it, obviously they are because it keeps getting more views. If it's getting some exposure and if people are interested in XS650s, as I figured they were, this would be a really good time to do a follow-up at this stage of the build, which, I don't know, are we halfway there? I don't know how you tell. I don't know how you gauge that. But we're well into this build, so I can do some updates and I can talk about some stuff on here. And yeah, I just figured it'd be a good time to do an update on the XS650. So that's my preamble. That gets us started. I'm going to change the camera angle here, and we're going to talk about some of what I've been doing on this thing. Be back with you in a minute. All right, here we are. We've come around to the other side of the bike. This is really the business side of the bike. This is where things are happening and going on. So I decided to move the camera around to this side, and we'll talk about this. There might be, oh yeah, there is something to cover on the other side, but we'll get there. So for those of you listening to the podcast, I'm now on the right side of the bike, or what a lot of people would call the A side of the bike. And I'm going to talk about a few things that I've done here. So I believe the last time I talked about the XS650, we didn't have handlebars on it. I don't think. Anyway, to go over this quickly, handlebars and sissy bar, I went with Almost Old School. Graham at Almost Old School, phenomenal guy. Love the guy. He's a chopper head guy for sure. Really, really good. Very talented with stainless steel. Does a lot of really, really nice work. His handlebars are really good. So he made this set of bars to my specifications to bolt on the Springer front end that I'm using. He makes a cool little adapter plate. I think I did a build stuff episode on this. But just to bring you up to date, bars are very narrow. Wanted to follow the lines of the gas tank. Graham was able to capture that really, really well. The polished stainless is beautiful. I haven't used a lot of polished stainless before, so I'm curious to see how it is for cleaning and everything versus chrome. I'm told it's very good, but I'm going to give it a try for the first time. When Graham built the bars, I got Jeff over at Perth County to send over an internal throttle setup to Graham. So this already has the internal throttle setup on it and a hole drilled in the bars to bring the cable through. So this is going to give me a really tidy look on the bars, very clean. And it was nice to get Graham to do that while he had everything there. And I know it's installed right and set up and the length is right and all that kind of stuff. So good, worked out really well, and he was happy to accommodate. So the bars are great. I have no issue with the bars at all. And I'm going to jump back here. Oh, just for those on the podcast, this is a rabbit ear style bar. So they come straight up at the front off of the Springer front end, and then they have a real nice drop back. The grips are 12 inches apart, so very narrow, lane splitter kind of stuff, and a real nice position when I'm sitting on the bike. The bars are, my hands are very comfortable. My arms are in a real comfortable position. I think it's going to work out really well. I'm really happy with the way those came together. Still have to figure out what I'm doing for grips and stuff like that, but the bars are good. No issue there. The Sissy bar. Polished stainless again to go along with the handlebars. The shape, again, we bent the top of the Sissy bar, so very, very standard kind of bend up to the top, loop around the top and down the other side. The only thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to bend about 6 inches of the top backwards, again, to keep that same kind of look with the tank, with the handlebars, with the fender, with a lot of stuff that kind of droops to the back. I really wanted to keep that, falling to the back kind of look, if you will. So that worked out really well. I'm very happy again with the polishing, the bending. Graham did a great job on everything. I said I want to be informative and give you all the information I can. I'm going to be totally honest about this. I have no idea what I did, either when I measured this or when I sent Graham the measurements. I missed the measurements on this thing totally. So width-wise, I got it. It's a nice distance from the fender. The height is right. Everything is good. The bends are right around the fender where I wanted them to be. From the fender up, it's awesome. What I missed was the measurement from the bend at the fender where I guess maybe call it the top mount to the fender is going to go. From there down to the mounting point at the axle plate, I missed that measurement. I was way short. As a matter of fact, I'm exactly 3 inches short. And that's what makes me think, okay, did I write something wrong, incorrectly? And I'm not, by no means am I blaming Alfred, but did Alfred write it down and I read it wrong? Who knows? Anyway, we have a 3-inch problem at the lower mounting point on the Sissy bar. And I looked at this and I thought, son of a gun, what do I do with this? And the thing is, it's not going to work for anything else, because given the size of a back wheel, this is it is going to be too short from the mounting point to the bend to ever be of any use from what I can tell. So it has to be modified. Now, something that I'm doing on this bike, and I'll show you more of it, but all my spacers, my foot pegs, my toe pegs, all kinds of stuff has this ribbed or kind of cooling fin effect. I have a membership now at what's called a makerspace here in Calgary. The name of it is Protospace. If you have one of these places in your town, you really got to think about getting a membership. If you don't have full machine shop at home and everything, you should go take a look and see if it can do you any good. We've got a milling machine and a lathe and, bandsaw and welding equipment. I have welders here, but there's welding equipment there, belt sanders, all kinds of stuff at Protospace. The thing that I've really gotten turned on to right now is the lathe, and I'm learning how to machine a bunch of stuff. And I got to tell you, it's a lifesaver to be able to jump in the car, run over there, and machine out a couple spacers, or, like I say, foot pegs, or whatever it is you want to do. Little adapters, all kinds of stuff. So, knowing that I'm going with this ribbed cooling fin kind of effect, and that I can make this stuff to my specs on my own, I looked at the sissy bar and I thought, well, you know what? If I put, and I picked up some stainless here, if I cut the sissy bar and put in a piece of stainless with that ribbed look, with that ribbed effect, then that would tie it in to everything else that has that ribbed look to it. And it will actually, I think it's going to enhance the sissy bar. It's going to give it a different look. It's going to make it different than other sissy bars. It's going to tie it into the bike. I thought, you know what? That's going to be a great fix. So the plan here is, now that I have these 3-inch spacers to get the sissy bar to the right height, I'm going to plan out the mounts to the fender, get those in place. Once those are in place, I'm going to make a cut in this section that is wrong between the lower mount and the first bend. I'm going to make a cut in an appropriate place there, and then put my 3-inch spacer in between. And two options there. I could use a set screw on the back side so that when the 9/16 goes inside that new piece of tube, I could use a set screw there. That'll work. Or I'm going to see if I can get a really good TIG welder, or somebody who's really good with stainless. I know a couple guys to weld that in place. Because once we have the right height here, there's going to be no need to change it or modify it. So I think welding it might be the best option. But anyway, we're going to get that piece in there. That's going to make that just great. And like I say, it's going to give it a little more detail, a nice look. It'll tie it into the rest of the stuff. It should be real good. So that's the handlebars and the sissy bar. We got the rear brake mounted up. Disc, I got it PFX. I forget who it comes from. Might be a mid-USA. It's the same pattern that I used on the Sportster, and that pattern looks particularly good with a spoked rim, I think. So it has holes drilled in it, and it has some oval kind of slots going around the center. Gives you lots of visibility through to the spokes. Looks real good. I'm happy with that. I went with a mid-USA polished aluminum caliper mount bracket, if you will. Well, of course you will. That's what it is. Went with that bracket and went with a mid-USA dual piston caliper. If this was a Harley, a bigger cubic inch, more power, more weight, would that be enough brake for this thing? Maybe not so much. However, for this little XS650, the weight of it, the power, all that stuff, I think that's going to be more than enough stopping power right there. So used a dual piston polished mid-USA caliper. Once we got the bracket in place and got the wheel spacing set up, which I was able to make some custom wheel spacers, which was really cool. Got that all set up, and then we made the, I don't know what you would call this, the brake locating rod. So used a couple rod ends, welded up a tube inside here with collets on either end for the rod ends. It's adjustable, it's strong, it attaches to the frame of the motorcycle and to the bracket, has the rod ends give you some maneuverability there. It's all good. So that should give us all the security we need to hold the brake in place. That should be real good. Along with the brake, I decided to go with a Sportster master cylinder, rear master cylinder. I had this one left over from the Sportster build for mock-up. So I used it to take a look, and one thing about the Mid-USA caliper is it does take, it says that the master cylinder you use has to be minimum 3/4 inch bore. Well, that's what the Sportster master cylinder is. So I figured that was good. It's big enough, it's got the capacity, everything is good. The mounting is real nice, and it mounted just a short distance back from my mid controls. Worked out really, really nice. I was able to weld a couple tabs on the frame. It's above the bottom frame rail, so it's protected. Shouldn't have any issues that way. The other thing I'm doing on this build, just something I want to try to see how it works out. I've purchased a Hurst roll control, or line lock, some people call them. It's essentially a solenoid that will hold the brake pressure. So because this is foot clutch, no front brake, when I'm stopped, you got to have, I think you have to have at least 1 foot down. That's my goal anyway. And probably that should be the brake side. So with this, I'm going to have a switch, and I need to find some really clean switches I can use. I've got some ideas. Motone makes some nice ones, so does Moto Gadget. So I'm going to have a switch up on the handlebar that when I come to a stop, I can put full pressure on the back brake, hit the switch, and this solenoid is going to hold that brake pressure on the caliper. So the bike isn't going anywhere. It's being held with the back brake while I have my thumb probably or finger on that switch. When you release the switch, the pressure comes off. So if I start to let the clutch up, release the switch, pressure comes off, away we go. I thought it was a cool idea. I don't have a lot of experience with a foot clutch hand shift. It's going to be interesting to see how it works, and then throw in the extra challenge of no front brake, and I'm excited to try riding it. I think it's going to be very cool. I've always admired guys who have choppers with no front brake and jockey shift. I've always thought that was pretty cool. We'll see if the old guy can think it through and handle it. So that's what I'm doing with this piece hanging down here. If nothing else, it's going to be a really interesting talking point. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of people asking me, what the heck is that? And so that's what we're doing back there. Moving up the frame, let's jump to the fender first. So this is a Wyatt Gatling fender from Perth County Moto. Fender is really nice shape for this bike. I think it goes really well with the gas tank. Has the right lines, it's smooth, really, really good. The way this fender is made is it's 2 halves. And they weld it together down the center, halves lengthwise. So you have 2 halves lengthwise, and I'm guessing that what they do is they put a strip of metal on the inside, and they tack weld both sides to that strip of metal. Now you have the two halves coming together, butted together with a strip of metal underneath them. Then they go ahead and TIG it down the center and grind it, and voila, you have a one-piece fender. The challenge I had was that strip of metal is still on the bottom side of the fender when you get it. It's picked up some of the TIG welding, it's spot welded in place, a few things going on there, but it's not totally welded and it's not totally sealed. To me, the issue I was going to have is painting it was going to be a nightmare. And the way I paint, and we'll touch more on this on another episode, but I like everything under the gas tank and under the fenders and whatever to look just as good as the top side. I think that's very cool to go to that detail. Maybe a lot of guys wouldn't agree. They say, who cares? What difference does it make? You know what? For me, knowing that if somebody looks underneath the fender, the finish under there looks just like it does on the top. Yes, it's going to get more beat up. I understand that, but it's going to look right. So to do that, you got this strip running under the fender that's partially welded. It's going to collect dirt, moisture if you get caught in the rain, whatever. It's going to collect a lot of crap. You're going to get corrosion for sure. It already has manufacturing oils and stuff under there that are not really desirable when you paint. It's going to be hard to seal it up. And to try and run some sealer on it, or to use filler and fill it, you're going to wind up with a lot of extra weight, a lot of thickness. It just to me, it just wasn't what I wanted to have underneath the fender. So I did take the time to go in and cut all the spot welds and grind out anywhere that the TIG had gone through and connected it, and got that strip out of there. So now I have a very nice finish on the inside of the fender. It's going to need a little bit of filler to smooth it out, but that's okay. It's good. Top side looks just like it did. Maybe a little discoloration from some of the grinding, but it's still smooth and straight, and everything's good. So little grinding on top. The other thing I'm going to have to do, and because they use two pieces to make the fender, it's very hard for that curve on the top of the fender to be absolutely perfect. And in this case, if you look at the fender from the back and look down it, you can see that one side is slightly lower than the other side. And it's very slight, but if you're that kind of guy, you're going to look at it and go, oh, so the fender is not quite symmetrical. I'm not a big symmetry guy, in terms of paint and stuff like that. I don't care if the flames aren't identical on both sides of the tank. Unless you want them that way, which is fine. Symmetry is good. I'm just not big on symmetry for that kind of stuff. But when it comes to a fender and the radius or the contour of the fender, yeah, I'm kind of a stickler for symmetry. I am not enough of a metal worker, nor do I have the devices I would need, like an English wheel or whatever, to straighten this out perfectly without filler. But I am pretty good with filler. I've got lots of experience. So this fender is going to get a very light wipe of filler down the center just to build up the one side and get that contour right, to get that radius right. And I think I can do that, and it's going to be fine. But it will have just a skim. It's not going to take much. It's not out by much at all. It's not like I'm going to put 1/8 of an inch of Bondo in there or anything. It's going to be minimal, but just enough to build it up. I could probably build it up enough just with high solids primer, but to keep the primer a reasonable thickness, I'm going to go ahead and use a little filler there. That's what I did to the fender. The only thing that is still a question mark here for me, obviously I have to get these mounts done to the sissy bar like I was talking about. Pretty straightforward, a piece of stainless welded across into a bung with a screw on the inside of the fender. That should do the trick to mount it and make it good and strong. In case I decide to put a pillion seat up here, which I think I'm going to do. So the only other issue with the fender involves the tail light. And I got looking at what some other guys have done, guys that I know, and I really love their work. Don't get me wrong, beautiful work. Anybody who does this stuff is an artist. I love it. But I looked at what they were doing and I thought, well, that's kind of like the last bike you did and kind of like the one before that. And I got thinking about my own deal, and on the last few bikes I've built, I've mounted the tail light off of the back axle plate area off to the side, so low on the left side of the bike. I don't want to become that pigeonhole guy. I don't want to be that, oh, look, Bruce did that. You can tell because it's mounted in the same place. So I was looking at how to mount the tail light on the fender. The tail light that I've ordered matches the turn signals, which you can see them on the video. They have a grill across them that looks a lot like that cooling fin pattern that I'm using on the foot pegs, that ribbed look. So that's tying in really nicely. So I ordered a tail light that has that same look to it. Oops, that's obviously not very tight yet. I just moved the turn signal around here. Anyway, so ordered that tail light. It's a little bit big. I was gonna try and mold it into the fender. Now I'm looking at it thinking, man, that thing's gonna look like a big ass wart hanging out there. So, not sure where it's going yet. Sissy bar's an option. I will admit, I'm not a fan of wiring wound around a sissy bar. So I'm trying to figure out how to hide the wiring if I choose to do that. Couple of things I'm looking at, but I'm going to try and avoid doing the same thing that I've done before. So I'll be looking at that. While I'm talking about the turn signals, had an idea for the turn signals to make the front fender mount and turn signal mount in the same piece, in the same location. I'm happy to report that my idea worked really, really well. The turn signals mount on the outside of the frame. They're threaded into a bung that is welded into the frame. On the other side of the frame is the piece that extends out to the front of the fender, and the fender bolts to that piece. So, again, for the podcast listeners, what you have here is you have a piece, one piece that mounts the fender to the frame and the turn signal to the frame, and I drilled it out and drilled out the bolt that mounts the fender to this mount so that I could run the wiring from the turn signal straight through the whole mount. So the wiring is totally hidden. It goes through to the inside of the fender. On the inside of the fender, I'm going to run a piece of probably fuel line, steel or aluminum fuel line, hide all the wires in that, and just run it around the inside edge of the fender where there's space for it. That's going to keep the wiring as hidden as I possibly can. It's going to have to go from the fender to the frame somewhere, not sure where yet, but for purposes of the turn signal mounts and everything, the wires are totally hidden. It's a really clean look. The other thing it's done is instead of having a mount on the front face of the fender going to the frame, this has kept it very clean where it's tied to the frame on each side and the front is totally exposed. So you just have the fender coming down and there's nothing nothing connecting it. It keeps a large space under the seat in front of the wheel behind the engine, a really large open space there, which I really like. I think it's really good. The seat was on before, I believe. That brings us to the exhaust. TC Bros universal exhaust kit, whatever, for an XS650, so I guess it's not universal. Kit comes with the right bends. I had never done an exhaust before. I'm very happy with the way this first one turned out. Lots of clearance. Well, I shouldn't say lots. There's enough clearance on the front here. We got the bends right. Came out of the exhaust ports, around the frame tubes, down the right side, or the show side of the bike, the A side, if you will. Down this side, brought the pipes back, had a little bend done in an exhaust shop here, and then used my multi-tool grinder, belt grinder, which I absolutely love, to make a little bit of a scallop, or whatever you want to call it, on the end of the pipes. So they run together. One's a little bit shorter than the other. You get that nice downturn. You know, they look good together. When we put them on, we were wondering if we were going to have to do another mount. Originally, I was thinking that somehow I was going to have to tie it across to the backbone to mount the pipes up. But the first thing we did is we tried welding a bung to not the inside of the tube, but the back side of the tube, the frame side of the exhaust pipe, and welded a bung top and bottom, made a little bracket to go across there. And I'll tell you what, once those two pipes were tied together, a little more than midway back to the tips, the strength here is fantastic. With it tightened up on the head, on the exhaust ports, super, super strong. I don't think we're going to have any excess vibration issues. You're always going to have vibration, and especially on a thumper like an XS650. But good solid mount. I don't think we're going to have any issues there. While we're on this side of the bike, I'll just speak quickly to the mid controls. So I went with Beck-Built Fab, with their mid controls. Dustin's a great guy. He's doing a good job building a beautiful product. Had to modify them a little bit. They're designed, and they come with a mounting tab to mount to the original exhaust hanger on the side of the frame here. That had already been cut off of this bike. I had done away with that, cleaning the frame up. So we cut the bottoms of the tab off and welded it to the top of the frame rail. That allowed us to position it back to front a little better, a little more where I wanted it. Gave us room for the rear master cylinder as well, and worked out really nice height-wise. Because I'm going with a foot clutch and a hand shift, that's the way Beck-Built Fab sets up their mids. So that worked out really well. On the brake side here, actuator back to the master, the angles, the mounting worked out really, really well. The modification I've made to what Dustin does here is originally his mid control comes out and it's a solid mount. There's no hinge on it, which is okay. It's fine. I like my foot pegs to be on a hinge. You lean into a corner, you get kind of low, you drag that peg. If that peg can't move, that becomes a pivot point in what you're doing in your cornering. If that peg can give, if it can come up, now you're just going to push it out of the way Probably going to scare the crap out of you when you feel your foot coming up, but it's going to push out of the way and allow the bike to corner as it should. So I wanted a pivot point there. Also wanted to narrow it up a little bit as much as I could, so my foot pegs are a little bit narrower than what Dustin designs, and I was able to narrow the mount a little bit. So all in all, it tightened it up, and it gave me a folding foot peg that when the bike is on display as well, I can fold the pegs up, and it keeps, from the back, it keeps that narrower look to the bike. You know, when the pegs are out, they kind of stick out a little bit, as they do on pretty much any bike. But with them folded up, it just keeps that narrower look. The toe pegs, again, I did my ribbed cooling fin kind of look. These mid-controls are made out of good, must be close to 1/4 inch steel bar. You know, nicely cut out to lighten them up. Good, solid, no complaints. I'm going to be doing some cleanup work on these, some grinding. They certainly don't need it in terms of the welds. Dustin's welding is beautiful. I got to give that young man credit. Welds are just fantastic. But I am going to clean these up, and I'm going to have them chromed. They come bare steel, which is fine. Powder coating would be an option. Painting would be an option. In my case, though, I'm really a chrome and polish kind of guy. So that's what we're going to try and do to this. There are a couple things I want to show you on the B side of the bike, or the left side. So I'm going to change the camera angle and show you that stuff here right away. On this side of the bike, the B side, the down side, the non-show side, the left side, whatever you want to call it. The jockey shift is going to mount here. The mid-control is not hooked up yet because I've just got my mock-up engine in here, so I don't actually have a clutch to hook this up to. But the mid-control, just like the other side, very similar. It's going to actuate the clutch. That'll be cool. And then I have the jockey shift, which mounts here. Originally, the jockey shift, and for people on the podcast, when I say mounts here, I meant that mounts on a bracket on the engine side cover on the left side. Now, initially, and I forget how, does he do it like that? Maybe Dustin does it that way. Initially, the lever, or I guess the lever for the shift points back a little bit and comes in behind your leg, so kind of under your arse there, and you would reach down, and of course that's why it's called a jockey shift, is that's where a jockey whips the horse, I guess. You know, so it's behind your leg there. I wanted something a little bit different, so I decided to change it, and I'm going to bring the shifter up towards the gas tank. So I've lengthened it with a piece, drilled some holes in it to give it a racier sort of look, lighten it up a little bit maybe, and that will come up, and I will shift in front of my leg, kind of beside the gas tank, rather than back behind my leg. Part of the reason for that is that we also went with a 1-into-2 intake manifold that Beck Built Fabs makes. So it's a stainless steel manifold, can be polished. Either you can polish it yourself, or I think Dustin will do it for a price, obviously. Anyway, single carburetor into the XS650. We're going to have to modify on this one the angle of the inlet a little bit. So we've got a couple different options there. I'm talking to Dustin about how to do it. But we just need to get this carburetor moved in a little tighter to the frame and aimed a little more towards the back. But very cool look with the carburetor hanging out the side of the bike. Throttle cable, everything's going to work fine. Good, good, good. The only issue with it out here like this, when I'm in a riding position, it's fine. If I try and put my left leg down, this is right under my thigh, and I just don't want to be putting pressure on the carburetor or on the cable or anything like that. So I do want to get this moved so that it's in a different position. So that's the carburetor on this side. You can see on the video the signal light mount and frame mount, fender mount all worked out just fine. The other thing we added is a chain tensioner from TC Bros with the skateboard wheel on it. I may change this skateboard wheel to see if I can find something else that's a little more Bruce than this. Not big on skeletons and skulls and stuff, and that's what this has all over it, so I'm not a big fan. But the wheel's not really the important part. That tensioner will sit on the bottom of the chain and keep some tension up. And because with the hardtail, it has extended the wheelbase, the chain's going to be a little bit longer. This is kind of a nice piece to take up that tension. It's also going to give me a lot more flexibility in adjusting the back wheel so that the wheel looks right inside the fender. So that's kind of a cool piece. And the last thing I'm working on is getting this anti-gravity battery mounted. I mentioned that we have this big open space under the seat. I'm really trying to keep this because I love the look. And from this side, I like that you look through and see the exhaust pipes. Once these pipes are chromed, it's really going to be a good look. So I'm trying to keep this big open space, but the battery's got to go somewhere. I think I can bury it down in the bottom here where it'll be behind the chain, behind the master cylinder. Really won't get a lot of attention, and it's not going to take away from this free space that I have. So that is that, and I don't think there's anything else right now that I need to share with you. That's how it's coming along. Hey, appreciate you being here. Love that you take time to watch or listen. Really appreciate you. We're on Instagram. We're on podcast platforms. We're on YouTube. Doing what we can. Appreciate a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe. That works real good too. We'll get some Build Stuff episodes going again here as time frees up a little bit. And comments. Love to hear from you. Love to hear what you think. Any questions you have, by all means, fire them at us. Thanks for being here. I'm going to go check on the siding and see how it's coming along. See you soon.